this is Andy Lipton, and welcome to Leading the Break. My guest today is Steph Gaitley, the head coach of the women's basketball team at Fairleigh Dickinson University. The topic is recruiting and the portal. Even for the most successful and experienced basketball coaches in the game today, like Coach Gaitley, the changing landscape in college basketball has made it very challenging to recruit and retain players. In our discussion today, we'll discuss the type of players Coach Gaitley is looking for, the mix between recruiting high school students versus college students in the portal, and how Coach Gaitley and her staff sifts through the hundreds of players that enter the portal to be able to come up with players that she would like to recruit.
Doesn't really shoot the three ball as well, but from conversations with her, it's more about confidence. But she's can defend aggressively. She's very quick, and her passing ability is actually insane. Like, her IQ is amazing. She was, I believe, overlooked just because she was a smaller guard. But as we've shown from our own success, that in this league, it doesn't matter about size. If you can play and you can defend, then you're going to succeed here.
Can guard, can shoot, finish. Seems like she has a high motor, which is obviously we're losing Kaylee a lot, so I'm excited about her.
She rebounds, a little bit. She played for someone we know, which helps, trying to get a little bit of feedback on just, how the things that she does really well. And I thought the Zoom, in talking to her, she's got great personality and fits our program.
And just that energy and that we want to be here.
Steadiness, that would be good because we're bringing in a lot of new pieces.
Like, I want to be part of that to you. I followed you guys. This is what I want. That makes a big difference. Kids that want to be here rather than kids. Recruiting is all part of it. But the fact that a kid that wants to be here carries a lot of weight too.
When you decide to have high school versus transfers or players from foreign countries, how do you decide how many, freshmen from high school or from foreign countries you want versus going into the portal?
I mean, it's a great question. I mean, I think my mind has changed so many times over this past year of like, I certainly don't want to be an all portal team. I just kind of had to revisit, like, I want to get kids to have a chip on their shoulder, like the kids that don't get scholarships because right now everybody goes right to the portal instead of the high school kid, but then you have to kind of wait for them to grow. So for me, like the kid from Israel is a very special talent. So it made sense to take a risk on there because I'm probably going to get a better talent in that kid than I am somebody in the portal. And then the other kids we had locked into earlier. We had signed them during early signing. One's a walk-on, but the two other kids and Teresa, those were the three we had signed early. But I got to tell you, there's a major shift coming now if that 5-for-5 goes in, because you really have to rethink what you're doing now. If you want to give a kid a fifth year, that'll knock out a class sometimes. So you just have to you have to have a lot of more conversations with your players. And some of them, like somebody like Becca, for example, that we might say, hey, Beck, do you want to take that extra year if it passes? She may say yes in the beginning and then realize at the end, I really don't want to do it, and then you either have to go to the portal or bring in a high school kid or what have you. So it's really a big shift right now, big shift in recruiting.
Yeah. At the end, I'll talk about, I'm sure it's a big work in progress and that it's still evolving. You're still thinking about it, which you've learned.
Right.
But let me ask you this. Let's say instead of one kid graduating, you had 5 kids graduating. Would you have gone 5 high school kids or would you have gone less and then the mix would have been some high school, some portal? If you knew you had 5 leaving, how would you have approached that?
That's a great question. I mean, the philosophy that I've taken over the last couple of years is if we get the top kids we're looking at of freshmen, we'll take them.
Okay.
But like before the portal existed, we used to go to level number 2 because there wasn't the portal. And you used to take kids that were maybe projects. If I get 3 that are the top kids I wanted, then I'll just take the 3 and then potentially go into the portal or push those scholarships to the next year.
Gotcha. Okay. So let me ask you this. So obviously kids are transferring, kids are stopped playing basketball. You have a whole host of spots this season. The portal opens and there's hundreds of kids. Give me some idea of the sifting process, how you kind of cut it down from 1,000 to 500 to 2. How do you go through that process?
I think the sifting process of the portal, it's position based. What position do you need?
Okay.
And then you look at like your senior class and you say, okay, I don't want to bring somebody in with 3 years of eligibility because I gotta be able to move them in 1 year. So maybe you look at a kid that has 1 year left, and how many years they have left comes into play as well. Um, and I think really it's really your need. What is our need? Like this year for us, um, I like the point guard we have coming in as a freshman, but I felt we needed more depth there. So we picked up two other guards after that because in a perfect world, I'd have 4 point guards on the court. I just love point guards mentality. But I knew that was a critical role for us. So that was an area that we had to really focus that. Could they play the one or two? Like Reese can go one or two, right? Ava loved being that point guard. She loved being that court general. Like, I wanted somebody like that too, that, and really embrace it. It was okay with the pressure coming at her. And I think we have a couple kids coming in like that, which is beneficial. And then I can swing Reese to the two a lot. Um, and then I knew when we lost Bella and Lily, we had to get somebody at that post player spot, like just to fill in for that post player spot. And then with Kaylee, I need another shooter. I need another kid that can fill it up on the wing. But some of the kids we're looking at are more drivers, which is fine because that wasn't Kaylee's strength, so like you kind of want to fill it out with a little bit of everything. Teresa can hit the three, but certainly not at the percentage of rate right now anyway that Kaylee or Madlena was able to do.
So, but let me ask you this. So, you know what your needs are, you know what you're looking for. How do you sort of like narrow the list? How do you zero in on, somewhat of a pool of people, down from 1,000 to whatever the number is?
Well, part of it is, I mean, and I really don't get into the portal. The assistants do. They're the ones that track everything, and then they make they'll make highlight tapes of each kid for me so that I can decide which ones I want to narrow it to. But I think part of it is, um,
But
if they
they
have
but,
an
they, but,
agent.
but they're not giving you tapes of 1,000 kids. I mean, they've
No, no,
got
no, 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 no. So first of all, if you have an agent, we're eliminating it because we just, we don't have the finances to get involved with these kids that their first question is how much money. We just
okay,
don't have that.
okay,
We also have had kids that have reached out to us,
okay,
and we go back to, okay, let's look at these kids that just reached out to us. And then we go back to kids that we recruited before that are now in the portal, that were
okay,
on our recruiting list in the last couple of years.
okay.
So there's a certain pecking order. And then, then it's a matter of just now position wise, and we start to narrow it down position wise. And they watch a ton of tape. And it's just now, and I'll just say, yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah, yeah. And then we start to narrow it down. And then you start to see like the one kid we have on campus today, she has 1 year left. And we have to see if she can finish her master's in a year because we don't want to hold a scholarship the following year for her to finish her master's because then we can't ask Becca if she wants to stay or bring in another kid. So there's so many different things with certain kids coming in. You have to look, are they academic qualified? Will they have enough, credits to transfer in? What is their, situation with that? So there's just a lot of details involved.
Are there certain conferences that you'll just say, we're not getting this kid, forget it?
100%. Great
Okay,
point. Like Power Four, not worth trying unless they reach out to you. Like we had a kid from a Power Four that has shown great interest, but she said, well, he's like 6'4", and she said, people tell me at your conference that I might not get the same challenge that I would, and my concern too is I don't want to bring a kid in that's used to the facilities of a Power Four, and I want to bring in kids that are hungry,
okay.
excited. Like I'm from junior college, I didn't come from much. I'm from Division 2 or 3, I didn't come from much, but I was a hidden talent that nobody believed in, and I want those kids that kind of have that Rudy mentality of like I want to prove to people how good I am. Because that's my makeup. And so like they're the kids I think that I do best with.
So, so you see all the kids you see all the names. You've just mentioned a few of the filters. In the first cut, how many players are each of your assistants looking at, would you say, in the first cut?
I mean, I think I mean, I think they're probably looking at 50 each to start,
Okay.
so and then they'll I think they exchange it amongst themselves, and then they'll send it to me, and if and then I'll say yay or nay, like and then if I like them, I'm going to ask for I want their stats for what they did the past 2 years. Like, what are their stats? What and the things that jump out at me is, can they shoot the three? What's their rebounding? Really big one for me is assist to turnover ratio. Do you know how to take care of the ball? So there's a lot of different, to make the next cut, you obviously have to win us over in the tape, but then to make the next cut, you got to win us over with the statistics. And then the next process is a Zoom with that coach. And if that goes well and or a call and there's a genuine interest, then I'll do a Zoom with them.
So is it fair to say the assistants are looking at, you know, first cut, they're looking at about 200 players? Would you,
I would say so. I think
uh,
that's fair.
how many out of those 200 will they recommend to you?
Probably 10,
Each? Okay.
10 each. Yeah, 10
Okay.
each.
So
So
you really narrow.
you probably get it down to like 40 to 50 kids.
Okay.
And then we start to really zero in on tape. And then we start to say, does this make sense? Does that make sense? Are they worth calling? And then if they do a call and they're like, I'm not sure if, she fits our personality, or like, hey, she's looking for 30,000. Well, that's not going to work. Like, it's just like, there's certain things that just drop you right away.
So when they're looking at it, when they've kind of narrowed it to, let's say, 50, is it based on stats primarily, or is it tape and stats? Would you say?
It's tape and stats.
Okay.
It starts with tape and stats to get to the next step. you
Okay.
know and then it might be like a lot of AAU coaches are calling you about kids, or
Okay.
junior college coaches are calling you and giving references to kid about kids. So we're doing a we're doing a lot of fact check in between. So like, if a kid gets down to that narrowing process, we talk to their junior college coach or the coach they played at. Like, does she have a good work ethic? Is she moody? I just can't do moody anymore.
Right.
I had enough of moody. Had enough of Moody. So like, don't give me Moody anymore. Oh, for God's sakes. Life's too short. You don't come in here on a full scholarship and be Moody. Um and so like, there's specific things that I'm looking for when I'm narrowing it down. And to me, sometimes somebody like Madlena, who didn't jump off the page statistic wise, I loved where she was as a kid. I want to be in a family atmosphere. I want to be somewhere where somebody cares about me. And I'm thinking, she just wants to feel wanted. And I saw her tape and there was a lot of potential. And I'm like, I want her. I want her.
So let me ask you this though: if her stats didn't jump off, how did she make the cut, the first cut, to get
Her
to you?
highlight tape was very good.
Okay.
Her highlight tape was good from her junior college. So like, we took junior college and we're able to watch a couple different tapes. So even though she didn't play much in the college at Evansville, she played a lot in junior college. So, and then we called her coach. And then, like, we did some back checking, and then like, she really didn't get much of a chance where she was. So like, okay, if she's not getting a chance, maybe within our system, if she gets a chance, she'll thrive, which is what she did.
Now you filled almost every spot, right? Or
Yeah, we're just about done. Today would be our last one.
you follow a high school kid? Obviously, you're following them for a long time. You can do a lot of research. Here, you filled it in a short period of time. You
Mm.
couldn't have done all the research you would normally do when you're following a high school kid for years, right? I mean, there's got to be stuff that all the social media, all the conversations you normally have with not only the coaches but friends, other coaches. You, you can't do that with this kind of situation where you're
It's a
trying,
great point you're making.
right?
You don't have the time.
Right.
You're right. The high school kids, you're calling them every week. You're getting to know them. You know how many kids are in their family. And this one it's a lot of it for me on this, to be honest, is gut reaction. What's my gut saying? Like, of course, you're studying the tapes and you're talking to their coaches, but when I get on the call with them, I like to watch body language. I like how they react to their parents. There's certain things that I look for. Like, I love a sense of appreciation, and no sense of entitlement. Like, I sense that in conversations, and that is either a good or a bad thing, depending on how they react to questions.
So let's end with this. What are the lessons learned having gone through the portal now? What do you think you would do differently next year?
First thing I would do differently was I wasn't prepared for the exits of a number of kids, so I would stay for the week after season's over and do my meetings right away. I did, I went away and then did it when I came back. I would have dealt with it right away. That would be the first thing I would have done differently is make sure that I bring every kid in, including, like just kind of, are you staying? What are you doing? Like I would attack it differently than I attacked it this year and see where their mindset is. The other thing I learned, and I take pride in being somebody that's a player's coach, is like the kids that are staying. I've taken them each personally and separately out for a lunch to kind of just gauge where they're at, make sure they're okay, how you doing, and prepare us for the next phase, and also to continue to develop that relationship more. Because I was looking at, I think it was Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or something, and for 3 years they haven't had a kid leave, and I'm thinking, why? Why? For 3 years nobody leaves. Like, is it they have enough money to keep those kids happy? Why are those kids always happy? Because I would have thought that would be us. And I think I've learned that I've got to definitely be more open-minded that it's going to be a very short-lived relationship.
How about in terms of the mix between high school and portal? Any thoughts if that will change your thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't, it's funny because obviously the Portal kids come in with some experience, right? They've already been through a year, but the high school kids come in so excited, like there's just a different enthusiasm about the high school kid, right? So, like, I don't think I could ever get away from not recruiting a high school kid just because I love, like, I was talking to a couple of them last night and they're just so excited. They're doing their workouts. They can't wait. I can't wait for school to start. I can't wait to work with the team. And you're just like, oh my God, that's so refreshing, like so refreshing. You know what I'm saying? Rather than these portal kids like, hey, you're gonna give me 10, you give me 20. Well, like,
Well, thanks a lot. Always good
oh,
to
Andy,
see
have a great weekend.
you too. Thanks, Steph.